Welcome, welcome everyone to Tim's Final Confessions, and a familiar face on the other side of my camera, Mr. Grab a Stack of Rock himself, Mike Ladano, Mike LeBrain, the man of many talents, many voices, many names. But Mike and I are here to discuss an episode of what? Okay, whipped cream. Okay, Mike's getting fancy. Mike's getting fancy at the camp this fine morning as we film this.
That's
Good
right.
morning,
It's early, my friend, and this is my wake up. Oh, that's good.
Mike wakes up and says, "Sugar me."
That's right. And for the record, Tim's already got an hour on me. He's an hour to the east. So for me, it's not even 7 a.m. yet.
Yeah, it seems like I've been up for longer, but yeah, we talked about this on your show.
Yes, we did on Grab
because of the five of us that were on the show, Grab a Stack of Rock, that week. 3 out of the 5 presented this album. Yeah, and we're talking about the latest release from Def Leppard being Drastic Symphonies, and
I haven't even opened
the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and this is something that Mike and I we've done a lot of talking about this. I'll let him show that off. We've done a lot of talking about this before filming. We hinted at it very, very strongly on Mike's broadcast that we weren't exactly huge proponents of this particular endeavor, and we're going to talk about it. And I think anyone that's watched either of our shows for any amount of time, anyone that's read any of Mike's writings, or my writings for that point, knows this is a band that that's very important to both of us.
Very, very important to both of us.
Huge Def Leppard fans, and not haters of modern day Def Leppard.
No, I quite like Sparkle Lounge, for example. I think that's a great album. I'm not slavish. I love Hysteria. I love Pyromania, High and Dry, but I'm not slavish. I do not. I'll be blunt. I don't like X. So I'll be honest with everybody when I talk about Def Leppard. I mean, I'm not a fanboy. I'm not. Yeah. I love Def Leppard. They were the most important band to me in high school, I would say. We're Def Leppard.
Yeah, and we go back, Mike and I, we didn't know each other then, but we were the same level of fandom, given the fact that we were both trying to find that Historia cassette. No, I didn't say that wrong, which I think is one of the moments that Mike and I both realized that, holy cow, we get a lot in common.
That was our very first chat.
Yeah. I was telling a story and Mike just knew where the story was going, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
So, something else I want to get out of the way and make sure that it's understood. Someone once asked me in a polite way, do you get CDs sent to you do you get albums sent to you to review? The answer is no, I do not. I spend my hard-earned money. If I'm showing something off, I have purchased it one way or the other. And in a way, I think that's good, because if artists were to start sending me stuff, most of the time it would probably be all right. But if I really genuinely wanted to say something contrary, I would feel like I couldn't. So I feel liberated in a way. Like, look, I paid for this. I'm going to have my say. Lots of people have opinions about this. I've read so many positive people saying positive things about this. And here's the thing. As a fan, I always want, I love it when band comes out with a new album of any sort and you're on board with it and it's effortless and you're like, oh yeah, I like this. They did it again. Which I suppose at a certain point we have to start digging into this. So, Mike,
can we start with the positive? Let's start positive.
Well, I wanted to end on a positive note, but
okay,
maybe Mike, if you could, maybe give us a little background, because it hasn't been that long since the last studio album.
Right, it's only been a year, if that. Right. So I don't really know. I haven't really been reading all the press releases, but I do know that this is the Def Leppard greatest hits and some deep cuts. Some of them remixed with orchestra, some of them re-recorded with strings and other accompaniments. Results may vary, as we'll delve into when we go into the track list here.
Yes, maybe.
But it is interesting, as you mentioned yesterday, to hear something like the Hysteria backing tracks, and with this new accompaniment, this new orchestration, and not everybody really even realized that's what we were getting, that we were getting remixes of original tracks in some cases.
I didn't read, and again, like you, I just knew it was out, so okay, well, I'll buy it. I did not.
Looking at the credits here,
when I was first listening, it caught me by surprise.
I'm looking at the credits here, and the dead giveaway is Steve Clark and Mutt Lange being credited on Animal for guitar and vocals. So yeah, but other tracks are fresh recordings, as we'll get into. I mentioned I wanted to start with something positive, which is Turn to Dust from Slang, an album I really like.
I agree. It gets off to a good start.
Yeah, I was enthused. We were going through this kind of track by track until you gave in. But I said right away, this gives me Page and Plant unleaded 1995 vibes.
Big time.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Big time. And it's already you get it's a mood album. It's definitely not one for the casual. I would hate for a casual fan to buy this thinking it was the greatest hits.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't have said greatest hits, but it is a collection of previously released Def Leppard songs. Although I confess there's some here that I have no memory of whatsoever.
So yeah, well, okay, maybe we'll do it track by track, and hopefully the positive and the negative,
well,
find its way through.
I felt relatively positive about the second track, Paper Sun, from Euphoria.
I really liked it. I thought that's a good choice. And 2 tracks in, because okay, so I we're gonna get to this, but I heard, I guess would have been the first taste of it, which is this track we're about to talk about. I just heard a little section of it. Yep. It didn't really. So then I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how excited I am about this. And for me, it's a small thing, but it's a significant thing. I bought the CD, and that's it. Normally, especially with a band like this, it's a CD and vinyl. I got to get the vinyl too. I did not order the vinyl, and
true.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Turn to Dust, Paper Sun, good. Pretty good.
Paper Sun was a little tad excessive, just a tad, and it was the first sign of things kind of going where they are about to go.
I didn't get that. I said, okay, that's good. Too good. Turn to Dust is better. Turn to Dust lent itself to this approach.
Yes, it did. This is the way Turn to Dust should have been on Slang.
Yeah, this is when we get into the first thing I think most people heard from this, and it's the version of Animal, and almost right away, I realized this is not the album I thought it was going to be.
Right, you weren't expecting.
All they did was take the recording from 1987, and add the orchestra. It was I've got so many things to say that who cares what I have to say, but people are watching, so thank you. Mike and I off camera, in chat, Mike came up with a brilliant metaphor for what these things sound like, because I'm going to tell everybody right now, unfortunately, the majority of the album is like this. It's not new recordings.
No, most of it's not.
It's existing recordings, and with orchestra thrown on top of it. Yeah. And I don't get it. I don't understand. So, Mike, how did you describe this?
Actually, I came up with a second description, so I'll give you both. But the first one, the one that you're referring to, is I said, as we were listening yesterday, I said, it sounds like Michael Kamen walked in the room and laid down his thickest orchestra. And then a second Michael Kamen walked in the room and laid down even more orchestra. And then a third Michael Kamen walked in the room and laid on the final layer of way too much orchestra. Another thing that occurred to me this morning is it also sounds like a bonus track on a late 80s, early 90s maxi single, when they used to just do remixes, and you'd get the orchestral mix of an Aerosmith ballad, and it would be like this, except with this has so much time passed between this and the remixing that it just feels odd. I think there's some sonic dissonance there in the sense that we're listening to a track that was recorded in 1987 on, digital tape, and now we're listening to this orchestra that's been mixed in. Something doesn't sound right. Something doesn't sound right.
The word dissonance is not what I'm going for, but there is definitely a disconnect.
Disconnect's a better word.
It sounds like something someone did at home.
Dude, you could easily do something. I hate to say that, but some talented person could easily do this at home.
And the worst part of it is it's still better than the song from Hysteria that they completely redid, which is
Right.
Next.
And I just want to say, no offense to one of the artists that participates in this track. I really admire her. She's a fantastic, fantastic singer, musician, inspiration. And it's not her fault.
And a huge fan who eventually got to record with them.
Yes, this was a dream come true for her.
Yes, so that's cool. But this cover of Pour Some Sugar on Me, stripped version. I'm just going to say that I think this is a metaphor for everything that's wrong with this album. It's ill-advised. It didn't need to be.
It didn't need to be a sexy ballad.
There are other songs that they could have chosen, and not necessarily a ballad. It didn't necessarily have to be Two Steps Behind or Miss You in a Heartbeat. They could have taken I don't know, Die Hard the Hunter or something. But to take arguably their best known song and deconstruct it like this, I think it's a bridge too far, and I don't like it. Next two songs, Hysteria, Love Bites, it's the same thing, man. It's the original tracks from Hysteria with orchestra on top. The orchestra gets in the way because from listening to it umpteen times, exactly how it's going to go, but you get these string arrangements, they're in the way. It sounds like you've got static, or you've got two different radio stations on at the same time. You got a classical station, you got a classic rock station. And
I will say this. I want to give Hysteria itself more listens because I love that song so much. I just want to give it more chances.
If I wanted to hear it, it's not like this. Yeah. I would have preferred a brand new. If it was a brand new.
Well, they could have used that new one that they did for iTunes less than a decade ago.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand it all. I don't understand the mentality behind this, because it's almost like they didn't have time to do all new recordings, but nobody was knocking on the door saying 2023, we need a new Def Leppard release. Come on, you got to get something out. They could have put this out next year and had every single track on here. Yeah. Brand new recordings instead of using existing recordings. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Next up, Goodbye for Good this time. Don't
even know the song. Don't even know it.
From Diamond Star Halos. I don't mind this one. I don't know if it's the studio recording, because it's only a year difference, so Joe sounds the way that Joe sounds now. Yeah. I didn't mind it because it wasn't something I'd heard a million times. Next song, I don't like Sparkle Lounge. I'm not a fan of Sparkle Lounge. I like a few songs on it. Okay. But the song Love, which they do,
I thought this was a good one. I like
this song, and I said the same thing in 2008. I think that Queen did this song better on the Jazz album, and they called it Jealousy.
Well, there's no denying that.
Man, is this close to that song. And not a lot of people know that song, but you listen to that, then you listen to the Def Leppard song, you go, oh. Not that
well, they are huge Queen fans. Queen's one of their biggest influences.
Not that they would ever deny that, but that one's almost a little too much. There's two songs in their career that they're parts that remind me so much of other songs. And as soon as this one came on, I'm like, that's Jealousy.
I love when it gets heavy at the end, though. And it sounds great with the orchestra when it does get heavy at the end.
I just don't care for the song. So.
Right. So
there. And the other one is, and we're getting off track here a little bit, but From the Inside, love the song. That's not on here. That would have been a great song for them to do with with a new recording. From the Inside was originally a B-side, ended up on Retroactive. But that song reminds me a lot of Seagull by Bad Company. Na 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 na. Like, it's very, very close to that song.
You're
Seagull.
Right. There is some there. Yeah.
Again, they wouldn't deny that, and that's okay.
Gods of War.
Now we're back to orchestra karaoke.
This is the one where This is the one where I came up with it, where I coined that Michael Kamen
Yeah,
phrase, was
because
Gods of War.
there's so much. It's too much.
A little bit would have been awesome.
I love this song. Gods of War it's one of my favorite Hysteria tracks. I don't know where I'd rank it, but let's put it this way. It's definitely my favorite of the non-singles. I love this song. I love the mood it evokes. I've always loved this song. Again,
it should have been the 8th single.
The orchestra gets in the way. The orchestra gets in the way.
Yeah, it's too much. Too much. 3 Michael Kamens is too much. That's what the 3 stood for, by the way. It's my 3rd favorite track, and also 3 Michael Kamens.
Yeah. Next up is the other song from
Diamond Star Halos.
Diamond Star Halos. Angels
you can
Can't
really
Help You
tell
Now.
I haven't. It made no impact on me, that album. It made no impact.
I didn't mind it again because it didn't. Again, it's not a song I'm overly. I haven't heard it so many times. Next up, we're back to the karaoke again, man. Bring on the Heartbreak. Switch 625. I mean, now Pete Willis makes his first appearance on a Def Leppard album since 1983 recordings. It's the studio tracks. Like, it's Rick Allen playing two-handed. I mean, why? I love these songs. I love.
It's not a cohesive album. It's not cohesive.
Next up is the only other song, the 3rd song in this album that I didn't mind because it is a new recording, is Too Late for Love.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the only thing from Pyromania on here.
Oh, is it? Yes.
But I liked it. I didn't mind it. It was, but I mean, as they say, the damage was done.
At this point, I was already weary of the album. I was getting tired. I'm like, when is this going to be over?
Yeah. When Love and Hate Collide, I suppose it was all right. I think it's a new recording, so we got to give it credit just for that. And they didn't mess up the arrangement. There's strings and orchestration on the original Vault version anyway.
Right. I was just like, why?
But why? And then finally, a song I never liked.
Nor I.
I don't like any of those studio tracks from Mirrorball. Sorry, I don't.
Nor I.
I always thought they were automatic. We need 3 new studio tracks. What have we got lying around? That's exactly what they sound like. Kings of the World. Don't care for it. So in the end, you've got an album that I don't know who they're trying to please with this, because I'm as diehard, no pun intended, a Def Leppard fan as you're going to find. I mean, I hold it as a badge of honor. I defended Hysteria
against Martin Popoff,
against its most vocal opponent, someone who has hated the album, hates on modern day Def Leppard, everything past Pyromania, and I held my own. So, when people criticize whatever, it's like, look, I defended Hysteria against Martin Popoff, so I'm not afraid of you. But I'm not a blind listener. I'm not a blind follower. Right. I bought it. I support the band. I don't know what more you can do than support the band. Again, I didn't buy the vinyl. But when I hear people, like our good buddy Snow, it didn't sound like he minded this. So we don't really know.
Right, but he hasn't written his review yet. Yeah. And he's a guy who plays his cards close to his chest a lot of the time.
And then, Chris Preston, good buddy of ours,
total respect.
Rock and Roll Heaven. My Rock and Roll Heaven is his username. Yep. He loves it. And that's great. I wish I could. I could love it. Now, the silver lining in all of this is that immediately after listening to that, I went back and listened to this, Diamond Star Halos, which only came out maybe not even a year ago. And I like this album more now than I did when it first came out. I think there are a lot of good songs on here. I don't like all of it, but I like a lot of it. And so it's not as if they've run out of ideas. But again, I don't know why they felt the need to get this out the very next year when they couldn't even, if they went through the trouble of getting an orchestra together, I don't understand why they couldn't do 12 or 13 songs in with the orchestra. They could have had, it's not what I would want, but they could have the exact same track listing. It's a schizophrenic track listing, man. It's all over the place. I mean, so there's 4, 4, 4, and 3. So there's 15 songs. 15 songs on here. Yeah. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from Hysteria. So there's a third of the album is Hysteria. 4 of them are just karaoke
remixes,
and the other one is a horrible redo. Again, the word ill-advised comes to mind. And this is weird. Like, you know, in in this day and age, every once in a while, some of these things get to band members. And I'm just being honest, as a fan, I bought it. I support this band.
I've bought
I
everything.
don't like this album, and I may never, ever listen to it again. And to further add to my curmudgeonly attitude towards this, this is something that I don't understand. I think it's completely asinine, to use a, you know, an old-fashioned word. Look at this. They couldn't even put the label on right side up. It takes less than, you know, milliseconds to flip this over before you send this to print. This is not an indie band. This is freaking Def Leppard and Universal Music putting this out. No one wants this. No one enjoys turning their CDs upside down to store them. Why the hell did they have to do this, Mike? Why?
To piss us off.
I didn't even get it right on the other side. Like, it's dumb.
I'd be curious if the Japanese version is flipped, but that'll have to be another discussion for another day. On the packaging,
they got it right here.
Yeah, well, there it is. Like, my issue with the packaging, and maybe somebody can explain to me the significance of the altered F. Where is it?
That's
there we
right.
go. The altered F and Def.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody can explain the significance of that to me, but I don't like it. It's on the CD as well. It's not just the front cover. I don't know. I don't know, Tim. Like, what is that? Like, we don't need that. Give us a picture of the band. I don't want mannequins holding musical instruments. You know, I don't know, Tim. Like, I am a big fan, as I said. Now, Diamond Star Halos is an album it hasn't hit me. I loved the self-titled Def Leppard. I've written a glowing review of that.
Me too.
I always buy all the different versions with all the different bonus tracks. And this reminds me of when Bon Jovi put out This Left Feels Right in the early 2000s. And I was like,
which I still to this day don't even own.
I don't own it. I don't own it. But, you know, it's like, oh, okay, so Bon Jovi's going to do reimagined versions. Like, this isn't even reimagined. This is just some tracks are some tracks. I will say this, Tim. I'm going to go ahead and say this. This is a lazy album.
Yeah.
This is a lazy album.
Yeah, and it didn't need to be. This didn't need to be, or it didn't need to be right now. They could have worked on it longer and come up with a better album.
Yeah.
Now,
maybe throw a new song on there.
I was very disappointed, and, you know, I expect more, you know.
I was not disappointed because I got pretty much what I was afraid of.
Well, yeah. So I started out not being terribly excited about it, which is why I only ordered the CD. And then I read more glowing reviews. I thought, well, maybe this won't be so bad. I put it on. First two songs, pretty good. Okay, maybe, you know. But after that, it's like, no, my initial gut feeling, unfortunately, was correct on this. This is not something, like I said, I'm gonna put this on the shelf backwards because it's freaking upside down. Oh, that annoys me, if you can't tell. And I'll never listen to it again. Yeah. I'm done with it. And, you know, anybody watching this that really likes it,
good for you.
What
I'm happy.
can we focus on? What can we focus on that's good? What was good about taking the existing recordings and adding the orchestra? Why is that better than having 15 brand new recordings of older songs? Why is that a good thing? I'm willing to say, you know, months down the road, hey, I was wrong about this album. It's actually pretty good. But I don't know. As it is, it's just kind of, I keep going back to, it didn't need to be. This is not something that needed to be added to their catalog. And I agree with you about the Bon Jovi thing, like that stripped down thing. But they had already kind of ventured into suck mode at that point too. So it was bad enough that their new music wasn't any good. They had to go back and butcher the good stuff. I heard part of Wanted Dead or Alive, and I like nope. But anyway, but Def Leppard and Bon Jovi were head to head, okay, in the late '80s for my favorite band. Two very, very important bands for me.
Yeah.
Def Leppard never let me down as much as Bon Jovi. Okay. They never stooped to the bland levels that John and the guys got to. Okay.
X.
Well, I still think there's a couple songs on there that were salvageable.
Yes, Scar.
but it's a
Yeah.
very pop. It's very pop. They had
And you know,
this guided idea of we're gonna, anyway.
this
I
is the
think
thing that, one thing I love about Def Leppard is that there are albums like X and apparently like Drastic Symphonies where I can have a very, very, very strong opinion. And then somebody like my rock and roll heaven can say to me, but you have to listen to this, or you have to hear it this
Yeah.
way. And he loves it all, and he has reasons, and he can articulate his reasons. And I love that.
Yeah,
And that's the
because
kind of band
that's a
Def Leppard
real
are.
I'm not gonna say a real fan because I hate that. It's a real fan or true fan. Those are terrible terms to throw around. But
Right.
he's a legitimate diehard fan
Yes.
and is not a blind listener. It is
No,
not
you have
just
to respect his opinion. You have
yeah.
to.
So it's like, even if you end up, man, I'm not hearing what you're hearing, but I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
and so it's not like everything they put out is great. No.
He's going to love this episode as well. He's going to love this episode because this is great,
Yeah.
great discussion of the pros and cons.
And I hope that you can see on our faces, this is not easy for us to trash a band that we love and has been the soundtrack of some of the best times in our lives and evokes such great memories and has been really, really consistent. Like we've said, their last two studio albums, really good, like really good. And
I'll share with you an anecdote.
Yes.
This is how much this band means to me. We talked about our mutual high school experiences. We were both Hysteria fans. And I think there was an anticipation when the Hysteria cycle ended around 1989. There was an anticipation for what are they going to be able to do next? Are they going to be able to maintain that level of success? And you and I, we were both rooting for Def Leppard to continue with something that would maintain that level of success and satisfaction to us. And I remember in high school, I had a dream one night, vivid as day, that I went to the store and bought the new Def Leppard single. This would have been like sometime in 1990. Like, this is how much I was into it. I could picture the artwork for what the new single would be. And of course, this is 2 years before the actual new single came out. But that's how much this band meant to me. I was so passionate. I had a Def Leppard patch on my jean jacket right over my heart, So this is painful for me to say that Pour Some Sugar on Me sucks. I'm going to say it. Pour some green cappuccino latte on me. It's garbage. It's garbage.
Elevator music. It's elevator music.
And I'm sorry to M. Griner for saying that because I know that track means a heck of a lot to her. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, we're so Canadian. We're apologizing all over ourselves here. But I mean, and again, if anybody, doubts Mike's cred as a Def Leppard fan, Mike's got something that I'll never have, and that's a credit on one of their box sets.
Yeah, I'm credited for the live tracks on Rarities Volume 2, I think, something like that. So
you don't get there not being a fan.
Right.
You don't get to that level.
And my name's in actually big bold writing compared to the other names.
You sent me a picture of it. I'm like, that is so cool.
Yeah,
like that, your childhood self would have flipped to see that. Like, that didn't. I was such a fan that any time that anybody in my house got a new pair of Reeboks, I would cut the Union Jack off the box and put it on my wall. That, like, dedicated. You know what I'm talking about. You probably did it too.
I didn't do that with the Union Jack, but I did do other things. I had a ZZ Top Eliminator model car. And of course I cut out Eliminator from the box and put it in my locker at school, stuff like that. Yes.
Yeah. So here we are. And listen, guys, we're not telling you not to go get this.
No, by all means,
don't
try it. Try it.
Give it a shot. I would say if you're just a casual fan, this is probably not the release for you.
No, stick to a greatest hits release, perhaps.
Stick to it, yeah. So there you go. I mean, that felt cathartic, Mike. And
it doesn't make me want to play it again.
At a later time and go, you know what? I was wrong. Or my focus has shifted and I'm hearing different things that I didn't hear before. But this is not something that I'm going to be returning to. So yeah, there you go. That's our 2 cents for what it's worth. And some people will say that, you know what, you're going to get people that say, well, they suck. They've sucked since 1983 anyway. So what difference does it make? Or this
isn't for you, man.
Also, they're going to say, I love everything they do. That's wonderful. You go have a good time. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being discerning. You know, it
I
doesn't
might
mean
like the next one. I might like the
yes,
next one.
yes, the next bona fide actual studio album. Real quick, back to you talking about, thinking about the next album. I remember I've always thought this. I always thought that in '89, when they put out In the Round in Your Face, the home video, they should have put that out
Yeah.
as CD, cassette, whatever. They should have put that out as audio as well. Yep. And they could have stuck, I don't know, Tear It Down, Want to Be Your Hero. They could have stuck a couple of those B-sides on the end. They could have put one of those out and had a minor top 40 single. That's how big they still were at that point. And it probably would have sold 3-4 million copies.
I was going to say they could have had a triple platinum live, double live album.
Yeah.
Now, of course, they did release the audio of it within the Hysteria Deluxe box
but
set.
I still wish they'd have put it. I still think if they'd put that out as a standalone thing, that they could have, or if they'd have put Retroactive out as their very next thing. I know they didn't want to do that, but it would have been a good stopgap.
They needed something.
They needed something because Adrenalize, I like Adrenalize. I don't love it.
Yeah.
But I remember when, was it March? It was early '92.
Yeah.
When Let's Get Rocked came out. I mean, I'm not a grunge guy. I hated the grunge scene. I hated what it did. I hated the long-term effects it had on popular rock music, guitar-based music in general.
Yeah.
And I never understood why it automatically meant you had to stop listening to stuff that you were way into the year before. There was an awful lot of fake people came out of there. Oh, that's ridiculous. They got a closet full of poison stuff. Come on. But having said that, when Let's Get Rocked came out, I remember going, and looking around going, does anybody else hear that? Like, come on, guys, that's going to be your first single. Like, that's really silly. Come on, guys. Now, I liked it. It was ear candy, and it was a big hit, but I knew that it's only because they had sold so many albums that they were able to survive that and still have a triple platinum album. That was not the song to come out with.
Well, I distinctly remember hearing Let's Get Rocked. My sister and I were listening to the radio, would have been March of '92-ish, something like that. And Let's Get Rocked came on. We listened to it and we were like, and we both said the same thing. Well, it's okay. It sounds no different from Def Leppard. And then I said, oh, no, wait, no. They had that string section, remember? And my sister says, yeah, but that was just a gimmick when he's talking about not listening to classical music. That's not a part of the song. right. And I decided when Adrenalize came out that I was just going to give them a pass on it because of everything they had endured.
Yes.
And I think that that's a valid point. They had really struggled on that album. The liner notes tell the entire story, and they put out what they could. I think it would have been better had they recorded an album with Mutt Lange producing and fully involved in the production chair. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. And only 9 new songs.
Yes, because Tear It Down was a B-side.
Yeah.
And a lot of those songs were written with Steve, and you can hear his influence on the songs that he has a credit on, but I noticed there was a lack of riffs. A lot of the time the guitar was more just playing a melody rather than a riff. And Def Leppard used to be a riff band in the Clark Willis years. Definitely.
Some of the best guitar part. And like I said, fortunately, they rolled along. They kept on going, and we're so far off topic. But basically, I hope that
we love this band is the point.
Yeah, I hope what's filtering through is that we're really, really into this. And again, I want to remind people that it's still, when this episode airs, you still got time. If you're in my neck of the woods, if you're in the Fredericton area, go see Hysteria Montreal, the Def Leppard tribute band, and I hate to be catty, but you're going to hear the songs the way you remember them. Great bunch of guys. If somebody wants to check out my interview with those guys, and I fully plan on being there in full force. So we're fans, guys. We're Def Leppard fans. It doesn't mean that we have to just. And I don't think the band would want that. The guys in the band are such music fans, like as much as Joe Elliott's a David Bowie fan.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's albums that Bowie put up that he hates.
Yeah.
So
now he might not talk about them.
Yeah, but in your heart of hearts, you can't. The only band where I can literally say that I really can't think of anything that I don't like by them, is Rush. I really can't. But that's an exception. But bands that I just love beyond anything, there's periods they went through, and maybe it's a song or two, maybe it's a couple albums that I just not into, and this is one of them for Def Leppard. So
see, I can't say that about Rush.
Tell us why we're wrong.
Yes.
Just tell us what you think. Tell us what you think of this album. We want to know. Keep it friendly. Keep it. There's one thing I do not tolerate on here is trolls. I will hammer out the trolls quicker than you can say boo. And let me just say again, that reminds me, Mike and I both have TeePublic merch on sale. That's some of Mike's right there. Here's a little bit of mine. Speaking of which, I need something more to go in this. Yeah.
Me too.
I just want to add their good sized mugs too. So there you go. Our 2 cents on Def Leppard's Drastic Symphonies. For better or worse, take it for what it's worth. But there you go. So on behalf of Mike and myself, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget, follow Mike on all of the socials. Grab a stack of rock on YouTube, MikeLadano.com. Mike's always putting up new writings and give you an idea of what's going on in his cranium. And he's going for like Darth Maul look here now. But so, Mike, thanks for doing this again.
More of a Darth Sidious, but thank you.
Sidious, that's what I was going. You can't really cut. Always two there are. All right. Thanks,
always
everybody.
two.
Thanks, everybody, for watching Tim's Final Confessions.